We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on Verone McKinley, Miami Dolphins safety, and why he should make this final roster. I mean, with the Elijah Campbell injury, which is unfortunate, I really wanted to see both of them play. He has a pretty much very good chance of making the final roster. Even before the injury, I think he had a good chance. And honestly, with how the second safety position's looking, I think he has a chance to even get some playing time. Like, no one's a lock yet. Brandon Jones injury, Elijah Campbell injury. Deshaun Elliott will probably start, but they still have like some 3 safety packages. And he just looks so much more comfortable going into this season under Vic Fangio, where he gets to be a split field safety rather than playing, deep middle of the field. This is what he did at Oregon. He did a little bit of both, but he always looked more comfortable as this split field safety. He's a very intelligent football player, very good communication pre and post snap. He just understands where he's supposed to be. And clearly him and Javon Holland, have that chemistry playing together in the secondary. So it's nice to watch them both be out there at the same time. And I could definitely see McKinley getting some playing time this season, more than last season, because he looks much better. Now, unfortunately, he did not get targeted out of his 82 snaps one time. So there's no snaps to really show in coverage where he gets targeted. But there's still some good stuff. And he also just looked really good versus the run. Right here, Dolphins are in quarters, and he's on the backside of this. Like, it's a 2x2 formation, but it's 2 tight ends down here. And he's reading this. He sees the tight ends both stay in the block, so he knows he's not going to get threatened vertically at all. So he gets his eyes across. He opens up his hips to find the number 2 to this side of the field and see if he works, deep over the middle. Understands his leverage. He starts communicating with Holland like, hey, I got your inside, and if he breaks, they can bracket this. Ball's already thrown, but they have this basically bracketed. If he broke to the deep post, McKinley's in perfect position. If he breaks on the deep corner, Holland would have been in perfect position. Just really excellent communication there, understanding your responsibilities, and not just sitting there and covering grass just because the receivers to your side of the field aren't doing anything. You know where you can be. You can take away. Like, if this was a deep post and McKinley sort of just stayed in his area, this would have been a deep completion because it puts Holland in a very difficult spot, like giving Kirk a two-way go with all this room over here. So McKinley heads up plays. Really like what I've seen out of him, and definitely one of the guys I was rooting for to make this roster. And wouldn't say it's a lock because you never know if they pick guys up and stuff, but with how the roster is right now, he should definitely be on that main 53. McKinley has just been getting active in the running game, whether he's like in a split field look, deep alignment, or he comes down into the box a little bit, playing as like a hook defender. He just gets downhill. You can see him absolutely destroy a receiver here. He recognizes the pitch to pull. He's, IDing these plays, gets downhill, takes a receiver, puts him on his back, and then helps make this tackle like right at the first down. But I mean, it's impressive that it only gained 3 yards from where he was aligned pre-snap. He's all the way out here wide. He's not even on the screen from this angle, but he's able to take out a receiver, maintain his balance, and then help make that tackle. And he was making plays like this pretty much all throughout the preseason. Some more variations of quarters down in the red zone. He's to the 3x1 side, the 3 receiver side, and he just does a good job weaving, maintaining his leverage. He knows exactly where he's supposed to be. I mean, he's reading basically 3-2 right here. As is his safety, his responsibility. He's reading 3. He sees 3 pushing vertically. He's working through this. 2 is kind of going underneath. So he knows he wants to maintain this. So he's feeling this, even though he's taking an outside angle here to get around this linebacker, he can feel that this is going to break over the middle. He understands how route concepts work, great anticipation. He starts weaving to feel this, maintain that leverage, and if the ball was ever thrown behind this, he's in a good position to break and make a play on the ball, stayed over the top, understanding exactly where he's supposed to be. Would have loved to see more targets to get some better coverage reps to show for the film breakdown, but I mean, they just weren't throwing his way at all. Another tackle made from this pre-snap alignment, like in a split field look. He comes down, avoids the receiver. He even loses his balance a little bit, falls off his feet, and is still able to get up, back up, and make this tackle. Like, it's only a 5-yard gain from where he's aligned here. Like, a lot of safeties don't make these tackles in this area. He's made I'm going to show 4 or 5-ish plays where he makes this very similar, and it's only limited to a 3 to 5 yard gain. Gets down, avoids the receiver, loses his balance, gets right back up, and then helps secure this tackle with Malik Reed right there. But just getting downhill, understanding where you need to be, get into the run fit, which, a lot of times safeties aren't even involved in the run fit when they're aligned like that pre-snap, and he's still making these plays. Dolphins rotating into a cover 3 here post-snap versus this 3x1 formation. He's just a buzz defender here, and he just helps take away. He's communicating, and he could either, depending on the routes here, he can really help on 3 or the number 2 if they both work over the middle like this, and he's just feeling this towards the middle of the field, reading the QB, and now he gets his eyes over to this. He sees Van Ginkel carrying the number 3, and now he's like sort of leveraging both of these routes where he could help on both if this is thrown over the top. He knows based on the leverage, he likes where Van Ginkel is, and now he finds the number 2. He communicates like, hey, you got that, and he starts gaining depth to the number 2 over here in case he broke far across the middle, because it would have been a very difficult spot for this DB to make a play. And it's just communication, leveraging route concepts, putting yourself in a solid position, and helping out your teammates, and he's done a really good job with that in the preseason. More plays for McKinley versus the run. Come down into the box. Dolphins, are in the single high coverage. He becomes that, strong safety coming down in here to help. Just staying patient, staying disciplined here. He doesn't try to just shoot downfield. He sees this tight end might be taking an angle towards him, so he just starts staying square patient. If he comes up to him, he's ready to avoid it. But then this tight end comes off and helps block him first right here. So McKinley knows now he has free reign to get downhill, fill into this hole right here. He understands his run fit on the backside of this run right here. Fill that C gap. He cuts into it, and he's ready to make that tackle, limiting that to a 5-yard gain when this lane is pretty huge. Like, that's a big cutback lane for a running back, and you're a safety who has to fill it up and instantly, and he gets downhill. And I don't think I really saw him miss any tackles throughout the preseason. Really just an absolutely clean look for him in these first 3 games. I love his communication skills because he rotates here to be the single high defender in a cover 3, and he's just communicating on where he should be. Maybe takes a little bit of a false step there on his to get back, but he communicates the first number 2 over. A lot of times, these guys don't communicate, and he'll middle of the field safety here would break on the number 2 working across the middle, but he communicates to this deep third corner over here that he should gain his depth and help take away this throwing lane. And he sees, the number 1 behind it, ready to break towards the middle of the field, and he's ready to get there if it was thrown. Elijah Campbell comes underneath, make a play on it, but if it was thrown to Mechie at the catch point, McKinley would have had a chance to, absolutely destroy him. And it's just another excellent communication. Got to have that in. It's so important in Fangio's defense. And there's still some things, he could work on and be a little more clean with his footwork and things like that. But he clearly has the football mind, which is, I think, the most important thing for a safety in this defense. Just keeps doing it versus the run, recognizing the run, get downhill, IDing it, closing, beating a wide receiver to the point of attack. He sees this hole open up. See how he makes quick decisions. Earlier, the tight end was slow playing it, so he was staying patient, allowed him to, kick someone else out and then filled. But now he knows, he sees the hole open up right away right here, and he knows the receiver's trying to cut him off, so he just gets down, gets underneath him, squares it up, dips that shoulder, and then meets the running back at the point right there. And that's a 2nd and 5 situation, and he helps limit that to a 3-yard gain from where he was aligned. Excellent safety play versus the run. This is a really, really good play from McKinley here versus the run. Just on the backside of this, toss play, sift action, outside zone to the right here, but this fullback sifting back. McKinley recognizes it and just anticipates this cutback right here. He's reading through the flow of this play. He sees the fullback bending back, and he starts to change up his angle here. Reading through all of this, understands what's going to happen, and he gets down, gets a perfect angle. Doesn't get too wide, doesn't get too tight to this block, so where he get kicked out, but in position and then bend underneath the block right there. So he comes to control, he gets past him, bends underneath, and then makes that tackle only for a 3-yard gain when he was aligned up in the split field alignment, 10 plus yards down the field. He's communicating pre-snap here a lot, clearly valuable to this team, and then makes an excellent play versus the run. Last play that I'm going to break down here for McKinley. First preseason game versus the Falcons. Just recognizing screen, getting downhill, limiting these plays. Only ends up being a 4 or 5 yard gain on the play. But just based on where he's aligned here, he probably shouldn't be the guy first making this tackle. And you can see him read this, just feel the leverage of this. He's reading through the receivers. He sees the angle they're taking, and he starts to work downhill right away. His first step is towards the screen without even looking at the receiver running the screen route. So he just has a great instinctive feel. And then he starts to close, avoid those blocks, get down, square. He breaks down. You'd see earlier, when he was getting those tackles, he would break down, square the guys up, but it was a lot later because it was in a very tight bunch down there, in the running game with all the offensive linemen, defensive linemen. Here he breaks down a lot earlier, so he's a little more out in space, and then help limit this gain to not get a touchdown because he's basically the guy coming down here to be the unblocked defender, but he gets there so quickly that it has just a huge effect on the defense. Just really like what I saw from Verone McKinley. Would like to see him get targeted a little bit more, see him make plays at the catch point, get matched up, whether it is, you got to see him finish, because sometimes, they don't always do that. He does have good ball skills, though. He was a interception machine in college, and I just want to see him develop down the line, because I think he has a really nice skill set for this specific scheme. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. It does a good job. Peace.